Health chiefs tonight slapped down primary schools that have told children as young as 5 that they'll have to wear masks in the class. Two of the country's top scientists said they strongly advise teachers not to make primary school kids don face cover. Dr. Susan Hopkins, from Public Health England, said, "The consensus view is very strongly to not advise school children of primary school age to wear face coverings. They can have difficulties wearing them and keeping them on all day, and it's really important they can see facial expressions in order to develop their communication and Deputy Chief Medical Officer Jonathan Van-Tam added, "I find it quite a daunting proposition to try and keep face masks on 35-year-olds, and I just think you should be concentrating on the teaching." The pair made the remarks at a number 10 press conference tonight. Earlier today, Professor Calum Semple, who sits on the SAGE group that advises government policy, revealed he's not a fan of asking young kids to don face cover. His remarks came as a senior cabinet minister admitted it's up to teachers whether or not they want to enforce mask wearing. Some primary schools have already announced they are going to make pupils as young as 5 use face coverings at almost all, but Professor Semple said that is unnecessary because young kids present the lowest risk to both themselves and society. He told the BBC, "There is really good data coming out that shows that children are half to a third as likely to acquire. When it comes to transmitting, they are probably half as likely to transmit it as that risk actually gets smaller as you go into younger age groups. So I am not a great fan of young children wearing face masks." The top scientist also said young children will find it difficult to wear masks. He added, "If I had to invest in a single activity to improve the environment both for the children and the adults, it'd be looking at improving the ventilation, unsealing windows that have been painted shut and kept shut for energy-saving reasons, improving air exchanges. That would be a much more effective way to reduce transmission in schools." Professor Semple also insisted data shows teachers going to school as a workplace are no more at risk than people in general society going about their daily living and normal working. The government has recommended the use of face masks in classrooms for secondary school pupils until at least Easter. It also says teachers and visitors in primary schools should wear them in situations where social distancing between adults is not possible. For example, when moving around in corridors but this morning the Justice Secretary Robert Buckland admitted it's ultimately up to teachers to decide whether to follow the guide. He told Sky News, "The position is it is recommended that masks are worn. I think it's right for the government not to be too prescriptive. We need to trust head teachers and staff to ensure that not only their school is safe, but that the practicalities are on. It's right to give that element of flexibility. I think they can be trusted to make the right decisions for the circumstance." His remarks come after parents at primary schools in South London and Hertfordshire were told children must keep their faces covered in the classroom when they return on March 8. Pupils at Selsdon Primary School in Croydon must wear coverings at all times, except during sports lessons or when eating or drinking. Head teacher Susan Hopkins said, "In order to be able to allow children to be able to play and socialize with the children in their bubble, we are asking that children from year 1 to year 6 wear a face mask when in school. They will be taught the safe way to wear face coverings and will be asked to remove them for PE lessons, when eating and when drinking." And parents at Nascotwood Junior School in Watford have been told well-fitted face masks are needed while in the classroom. The school said, "We request that children wear a well-fitted face mask whilst in the classroom, as the classrooms do not allow adequate social distance." Minister's guidance on masks was unveiled in the PM's roadmap to reopen the country earlier this. It states, "The government recommends that the use of face coverings in higher education, further education and secondary schools is extended for a limited period to all indoor environments, including classrooms, unless 2 meters social distancing." Face coverings are now also recommended in early years in primary schools for staff and adult visitors in situations where social distancing between adults is not possible. For example, when moving around in corridors and communal areas. All children will once again be expected to attend school, as they were in the mask-wearing measures will be reviewed at Easter, but ministers haven't ruled keeping them in place until the summer holiday. Schools are set to return from March 8 for all pupils in all year groups in England, rather than a staggered approach. Professor Chris Whitty has said good ventilation and hygiene practices will help to keep schools safe and the impact of secondary students wearing masks will be monitored over the first 5. He fully supported the move to get kids back to school, saying the face mask measures and increased testing would help ensure the safety of students and staff. The chief medical officer said, "It is absolutely universally accepted that there are huge advantages for children to be in school, mentally and physically, and for their education. If you keep children out of school, every child is disadvantaged." Professor Whitty said in contrast, the risk of COVID to kids was incredibly low, adding, "We are confident that given the huge benefits of school, the residual risk is strongly in favor of children, primary and secondary." going to, and he said the Easter holidays in 5 weeks' time would provide a natural fire break if cases in schools started to grow. The Prime Minister is preparing a major school safety campaign to convince parents children are safe, despite 9 teaching unions saying they want a staggered. The PM faces huge opposition from unions over his plan, who have warned of a huge spike in cases if all kids go back at once. But a fresh labor civil war exploded once again after Sir Keir Starmer threw his weight behind a Big Bang opening, to the fury of left-wingers, and they were backed by the Archbishop of Canterbury, who said he was absolutely sure the government was right to prioritise the reopening of schools, saying, "That is probably the most urgent thing. It's been the most urgent thing right the way through." Pupils will also be given extra classes during the summer holidays to help them catch up with lessons missed during the pandemic.